Hello, good evening. You are welcome in the zoology class organized by Society of Caring Technology and Jan Vikas Mahasabha. Today we will talk about physiology of reproduction. Reproduction, which is a very important event of the life, it keeps continuity of the race. In lower organisms, earlier asexual reproduction was found, where from an organism, one cell or a group of some cells separated, divided to form a new organism. So here the offspring was genetically identical to parents. It was rather a clone. There was no variation. But for natural selection of Darwin, variation is essential. So later on, nature developed another method of reproduction in which two phenotypically different type of individuals of same species were differentiated, the male and female, and they produced a cell called gamete having half of the genetic material. So there were two individuals and each individual produced a gamete which contained only half of the genetic material. Both gametes united to form a zygote, and that zygote then multiplied, divided to form a new organism. Here the fusion of both male and female gametes was called fertilization. Fertilization was of two types. In fishes, frog and lower animals, there was external fertilization, in which both male and female gametes were uniting with each other in the surrounding water. There was a risk that such type of individual was at the risk of being eaten by predators, parasites, and environmental calamities. So later on, nature evolved another method where the female gamete produced from the mother was retained inside the body in the oviduct, and the male gamete was conveyed inside the body of the female, united with the female gamete to form a zygote. So here there was internal fertilization. Then there were two types of life. Earlier, the individuals, for example, the chicken, frog, etc., they gave birth to egg, and later on egg developed into a new organism. This is called oviparous habit. But in case of human being, most of the development is completed inside the uterus of the mother, and a fully developed child comes out from the mother's body. This is called viviparity. There was one more thing. Although both parents were contributing 50% of the genetic material, equal amount of genetic material, but all the reserved food material for further development of embryo was supplied by the mother only. So all the food material for further development of embryo was provided by the mother, by the ovum, and sperm was not providing the food material. That's why development of ovum took double time, one for normal meiosis and other for accumulation of food material. So the two phenotypically different individuals developed in sexually reproducing organisms, the male and female. The male sex organ contain a pair of testes. In mammals and birds, they are homeothermic, body temperature is much more. Development of sperm requires a lower temperature. So, in mammals, including human being, the testis came out of the body cavity in another cavity called scrotum. In some of the animals, rat, rabbit, etc., this testis is withdrawn in the body cavity during non-breeding season, and in breeding season only they come out. The canal connecting the two is here, inguinal canal. Inguinal canal remains open. But in human being, once the testes come out in the scrotum, this inguinal canal is closed and the testis cannot be withdrawn in the body cavity. Sometimes in some human beings, this testis fails to come out in the scrotum, remains hidden in the body cavity. This condition is called cryptorchidism. It leads to a type of infertility. Although it can be cured very easily if it is diagnosed. Male sex hormone is given and there is a minor operation by which the testes are brought outside into the scrotum and the human survives comfortably. One more interesting fact is that for internal fertilization, the sperm has to enter inside the oviduct of the female individual. And in the oviduct, there is acidic environment for protection from foreign organisms, protozoans, bacteria, viruses, etc. So the sperms can also get affected with that acidic environment, and the survival of a sperm is essential till it reaches the ovum. So for that, what happens? Some extra fluid is secreted from some accessory sex organs, and the whole mixture is called semen. So in this semen, the sperm cells remain hidden in the middle. They are not affected by acidic secretions of the vagina. So there are three structures: seminal vesicle, one pair, then a prostate gland, then one pair bulbourethral gland or Cowper's gland, and they all open into the sperm duct. Actually, the testis is further covered by a fine membranous covering called tunica albuginea, and there are many compartments. In the compartments, we have coiled tube-like structures called seminiferous tubules. In these seminiferous tubules, actually the process of spermatogenesis takes place. Then all these seminiferous tubules open into a network here called rete testis. Then they again make a coiled tubular network here called epididymis, and after epididymis, then it enters into the sperm duct or vas deferens. That vas deferens again receives the ducts of the accessory sex organs, and it unites with the ureter, which finally forms the urethra. So urethra is the common passage in male mammals and human being, which carries both sperms and the urine coming from the urinary bladder. And for transferring the sperms inside the oviduct of the female, there is an elongated structure called penis giving support to this urethra. Then let us see what happens in this seminiferous tubules for the process of spermatogenesis. So, if we cut a transverse section of the testis, we get many seminiferous tubules, In between seminiferous tubules, there are some totipotent interstitial cells or Leydig cells. They secrete the male sex hormone under the influence of LH of anterior pituitary. Further, in this seminiferous tubule, two types of cells are there. Some larger Sertoli cells which provide nourishment to the developing sperm, and in 1968 Dennis Lacey told that the Sertoli cell also secrete a hormone, a male sex hormone, Sertoli cell hormone or androstenedione, which controls both primary and secondary sexual characters. Here in the seminiferous tubules, near the periphery we have spermatogonia, they are diploid, then they enlarge and divide to form primary spermatocyte are also diploid, but now meiotic division takes place. First meiotic division and second meiotic division. By first meiotic division, the two secondary spermatocytes are formed, and by second meiotic division, 4 spermatids are formed. Spermatids, so secondary spermatocytes and spermatids are haploid, having half of the chromosome number. The shape of spermatid is simple rounded. Later on, a change in the shape of spermatid takes place to form an elongated sperm. This process is called spermiogenesis or spermatidiosis. And finally, the sperm cells are formed, which are carried from the seminiferous tubules to the rete testis, then into the epididymis, then into the vas deferens. One more thing is there, that the sperm cells, if they are isolated from these seminiferous tubules, they are not capable of fertilizing an ovum. When they pass through the epididymis, they are activated, which is called the capacitation of sperm. And after that, when they reach inside, along with the secretions of the accessory gland into the female duct, they fertilize the ovum. Regarding female sex organs, we will talk on the next turn tomorrow. Thank you very much.